Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kwame Watt of the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp. Come with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And, this morning I just want to touch on the topic of how people are going to be willing to give up their so-called freedoms for security and for safety, but they're going to end up with neither. We're watching, this AI infrastructure be, established and being, the forefront of the, this elite agenda at the moment, right? And people are going to be willing to give up whatever, so-called freedoms that they have, in order to, have that covering of this AI system, because it's going to be presented as a cure-all, man, right? They're going to present the mark of the beast being these chips, right? They're going to be implanted in people, man. They're going to, frame it as something that can protect you, right, from outside forces, or, cover you from, economic disaster and things of that nature, man, right? They're going to have the social credit scores and stuff like that in place. So people are going to be more and more willing, right, to give over their privacy, to give over their, their American freedoms, right? They, because we're seeing they're already throwing away, the Constitution, they're throwing away the Bill of Rights and things of that nature, right? So now they're going to be more and more willing to just, bow the knee, ultimately, right? But that's why I have this here, 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Now, when you read this in the NLT, it reads, when people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, right? And that's what people are looking for, security, right? They're looking for stability, right? That, the order ab chaos is about to be in full effect, and people are going to be clamoring and, scratching and scraping to try to find a sense of stability, man. And that's what this mark is going to be presented as, man. As brothers often, go into it. They're going to present it as a means of salvation, man, right? To save you from the disasters that are at hand, right? But like I taught the lesson, they're going to seek for these things, and they're going to give up freedoms for these things, but they're going to have neither, right? They're not going to get what they expect, as a result, man, right? People, you read Revelation 14, this mark is not going to benefit people the way they think it's going to. This AI is not going to benefit people the way that they think it's going to, right? Giving yourself wholly unto this beast system is not going to be beneficial to you, man, right? Let's get this here, right? Actually, I think it's... Yep. This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. It reads, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So the whole world is going to be presented with this, man, right? It's, people want to focus on America, which it is the centerpiece, right? The whore that rideth upon the beast. But the world in itself is going to be, have this presented as a that end all be all, man. That final idol that they want people to bow to, And just, going back to the title of the lesson, people are gonna, give up those freedoms, right? People are gonna allow this invasion of privacy, right? Whether it be, right, them, allowing these devices into their bodies, which is the ultimate, right? But we're seeing it, with people, just giving over their information, man, right, to these different companies. Palantir and, Gideon and things of that nature, right? Even with Chat GPT and, Grok and all these other AI platforms, people are being more and more willing to input more and more personal information, man, right? Because they think it's going to be, beneficial, right? Everybody wants to get a step ahead in this beast system, right? But what they're not putting into play, right, or taking account of, is that it's a sinking ship, right? They're they're looking for a room upgrade on the Titanic, man. Because none of these things are gonna come, come to their good, right? That's what scriptures say. If he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, man, right? He's not presenting this as a protection, right? He's presenting it as a means of control, right? He's putting people in a position of desperation in order to garner more and more control, right? And while that desperation is taking place, people are gonna, take an account of, what they're willing to sacrifice in order to maintain some type of order or stability in their lives, man. And it's because they're without the scriptures, man. These people are without the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. So the only understanding they can lean upon is Esau's understanding, man. Right? We're gonna see that in a great fashion, especially amongst Israelites, man. Right? Jake out there, right, is completely dependent upon Esau's system. Right? As the curses say, we shall go to him for one of all things, but they don't have that trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? And they're not building up that relationship, so they're gonna be, some of the first ones to give up, right, to bow the knee, right, and with the expectation of receiving good, but they're only gonna receive evil, man, right? It says here, Isaiah 31:1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses, right? To me, that word stay means to trust, and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. And that's the point, man. Jake is not seeking Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai in any shape, form, or fashion, right? And we're about to see, great judgment, come upon this place as a result, right? Because it's called Jacob's trouble for a reason. The main target are disobedient Israelites, man, right? And then Esau, and then the rest of the nations, right? This whole place has to be torn up from the roots, right? But because Jake, we're in this position in the first place because of our disobedience. Right? Those who continue in that path of disobedience are going to receive that ultimate judgment, man. Right? It says, let me see here. So let me jump over here. Yep. Isaiah 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel. And just going back to that Isaiah 31 real quick, right? The horse and chariots are representative of the military might, but it's also representative of the power that this man holds, right? And that power is being exacerbated by this AI system being in play, man. Right? By them being, in the position to destroy the entire economy, right, and put people in in greater destitution, shall I say, right? And then they're going to present that mark, right, as that that comfort, that covering, right? It's the left hand hedge of wickedness, man, right? People are gonna look at that and look at those who have it, because they're gonna be people who get it, and for a time they're gonna seem to be in a good estate. But as we read, sudden destruction is gonna come upon them, man. So they're gonna give away, all the things that they once were redeemed as freedoms and things of that nature, right? In order to have that safety and that stability. But at the end of the day, they're going to end up with none of that, man. Right? It's only going to be death and destruction, right? That comes from it, man. Right? And they're going to require more and more of you, right? When you start giving yourself over to those demons, right? When you start giving yourself to Esau Edom, what does he want? Right? He's gonna want more. He's gonna require more of you. You're not just gonna have to, make that one sacrifice and then keep it moving. Right? You're gonna have to continue to, degrade and what's the word? Continue to bow the knee, pretty much, man. Right? But going back, Isaiah 31. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, right? And this is them seeking that covering, man. This is them taking that counsel. It says that walk down to Egypt, or that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Because this social credit system that's going to be implemented, right? People are going to be willing to do whatever it takes to stay in good graces, man. Right? That's why when it says that you shall be killed for refusing the mark of the beast, right? That killed goes into both the physical death and the death to the society, right? You losing access, right, to the comforts and conveniences, right, that Babylon the Great offers, man. Right? And people are going to be afraid to do that. They've become slaves to these conveniences. They've become, addicted to the comforts and cares of this life. Right? So when it says they ask to be strengthened in the strength of Pharaoh, right? They want to build, alongside Esau, man, at the end of the day. Right? They want to, continue to try to climb to his heights, right? Instead of looking and seeking to be on the side of Yahweh B'Shem and Yahushai, right? It says, verse 3, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, right? So you're going to give all this up, right? Ultimately give up your chance at salvation, right? But in the interim, you're giving up whatever so-called freedoms we do have in order to, maintain in this society, man, right? They're not prepared to lose, right? And once that device is required, well, even going back, the social credit scores, right? Once those credit scores and things of that nature become mainstream, as they are in China, you're going to start to see people do whatever it takes to stay in the good graces of Esau Edom in this system, man. Stay in good graces of Grok or Alexa or whatever, Amazon AI or, whatever AI system is the ruling force, the governing body, right, in this society, right? People are going to want to stay in the good graces of that, right? And this, speaking to you Israelites, right, you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, Hispanics, West Indians, you are going to be in that same position, man, right? You're going to be in the position of, having to look at that social credit and make a decision that is either going to bring you closer to the Lord or take you further away, man, right? It says, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, right? Because it's going to be a point of humiliation, right? And we're going to look back on this in the kingdom, right, as those who, who fully trusted in the Lord. Lord willing, we, maintain and remain a part of that number, man, right? We're going to look back and see those who completely gave themselves over to this system, man, right? And they're going to be humiliated. That's why they shall be in shame and contempt, right? It says, shame and trust in the shadow of Egypt, your confusion. Because people are going to wonder why, right? Even though they made these sacrifices, why are they still losing, man? Right? It's because it's not beneficial, right? This man cannot profit, as the scriptures say. But the Lord is going to set up one who will do profit, man. And that's going to be Yahushua, right? That kingdom under Yahushua, right? Under King David, right? The 144,000, right? That governing body, right? The kingdom of Yasharallah, it's going to be the most beneficial thing for this earth, right? But while we're here, we're watching the man, the man of sin, the beast man, the vilest man on the earth, right? Lead people to a path of destruction, man, right? And again, a path of confusion, right? Babylon the Great, right? The land of great confusion. People are going to be, people are going to be more and more willing to give up, their comforts and their, give up their privacy and their, freedoms, right? In order to maintain those comforts and in order to maintain those conveniences, right? To have access, to not feel like a social outcast or a pariah, right? They're going to do whatever it takes in order to, be in a part of this, the zeitgeist, man, right? But, it's going to come to naught, right? So just going back to that Second Thessalonians, or that First Thessalonians, rather. First Thessalonians 5:3. We'll read this in the NLT. It says, when people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, right? So they want that security, they want that peace, and they're going to be willing to do whatever it takes to get it, right? It says, then disaster will fall upon them, or then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, right? Because once you've given up, right, everything to this man, right, he has every opportunity, to take advantage of it, right? That goes into the destruction and fall of this place, but it also goes into, right, people, they sign the contract with the devil, man, right? So once you sign that contract, he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, man, right? And it said, like it says, it's going to be suddenly, right, as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape, right? So you're in the system now, right? You're a part of the beast, right? And once you take that device, there's no turning back, man, because you've made your choice, right? You've chosen what side that you're going to be on, and they did it, as a means of, trying to maintain in this society without faith, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. If you have faith in the Lord, right, as we read in that Revelation 3:10, right, that he's going to keep us during this hour of temptation, then you're going to refuse, right? But those who don't have the faith, right, those who can't see, right, that victory, see that deliverance, right, see that covering, are going to run under the hedge of, or the pseudo hedge of Esau Edom, man, But, just a quick lesson to the spirit and power. How about Shem Yahushai? I'm going to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Hasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasharallah and the Papa Ball. Shalom.